Welcome back to Bambazeled, the show that is here to help us all better navigate our relationships. On this show, we examine the dynamics of modern relationships, their perks and pitfalls through the lens of self-awareness. Yes, whether or not your bae may be the problem is not why we're here, because the external is never really in our control. What is, though, is us. We each have agency over ourselves, how we choose to show up in life, and how we allow others show up in our lives. The only way that we can have better relationships out there is if we take the time to develop and become better versions of ourselves in here. And that is where Bambazel comes in. Here we bring the focus back inwards. We bring the focus back to ourselves. Instead of just dwelling on what the other person is doing, whether the other person is wrong, how can I please my partner? Instead of keeping the focus on the external, we bring it back to the internal. How are we showing up? What can we do differently? What can we do better for ourselves and then for the kind of relationship we want to have? My job is to make sure that you are not being bamboozled by your bae. And that's past, present, or future bae. No bamboozling here, not any longer. So whether you're looking for clarity in your own relationship or simply trying to help someone else that you think might be struggling, Bambazeled is where you can get all the relationship cheat codes. Now this week, we are continuing with our emotional abuse series, where we are trying to take a very deep and extensive dive into the world of emotional abuse, what it looks like, what it sounds like, how it presents, the effects it has on the victim, and I know people don't like that word, so let's say the people that are receiving that abuse, why it's so hard for people to leave and break away, and how you can do that if you've come to the point in your life where you're tired of being tossed to and fro by another person's emotional dysfunction. Now, in the first installment of the series, we talked about what abuse looks like. We gave a long list, and somewhere on this screen, I'm going to link that video. In this second installment, we're going to be talking about the intended effect that these abusive tactics are meant to have on the receiver. What is the abuser really after? What are they actually trying to achieve? And why is it so hard for us to recognize when we are being abused, especially when it's by someone or coming from someone that we really love or someone that's really close to us? Whether you're in this situation or know someone who is and you are concerned about them, this episode aims at helping clear the fog, remove the scales from our eyes. It will help us begin to understand what's going on, what's been happening to us, and why we might feel very different than who we were before we got into this relationship. Let's get into today's episode.
Does she like me? Was that a date or a hang? Is she single? Wait, what are we? Is it too soon to say I love you? Should I call him now or should I just wait? Maybe I should wait. Wait, should I let her go? Why did he just ghost me like that? Wait, can't we work it out? Is he an F-boy? Is she toxic? We hooked up. Why is he saying we're just friends? Let's face it. Relationships are the best thing when they work and a nightmare when they flop. You're recklessly giddy when Cupid's arrow sticks you in the arse and a nervous, pain-filled wreck when he comes to take his love away. There's hardly anyone who cannot relate to the dizzying highs and debilitating lows of relationships. We are naturally wired for connection, so when that's messed with, it can make us feel crazy. Enter Bambazeled. On this show, we help you figure out if you are being bamboozled by your bae. That's it. Nothing else, nothing fancy, just a real, raw, honest to heavens, and hopefully helpful take on the best to the worst of relationships and everything on the spectrum in between. No topic is off limits, no situation is too taboo or embarrassing. Give us everything. So, if you're wondering if you're being bamboozled by your bae, don't walk, run here. This is your new home. I am your new bestie, and I've got you. Now, let's figure out if you're being bamboozled.
So let's get one thing very clear. Emotional abuse is about one thing and one thing only. One thing and one thing only. It doesn't matter how many iterations of abuse there are. It doesn't matter how many forms or tactics or ploys or what have yous. There's only one intended agenda when it comes to abuse of any kind. And that is control. Control. Now, everything you're going to hear during the course of this series, try to keep in mind that the one major goal, even though we're going to break it down into sub goals, the major goal is control. Emotional abusers will use these subtle little methods that can often go unnoticed if to the untrained eye, to get that control that they so crave and need to have. So the things they do are meant to foster emotional dependence. They want you to need them and not need them in a healthy way, because I believe that in every healthy relationship, you both need each other. That's why you're in a relationship, right? But with abusive people or emotionally maladjusted people, I think that's a better way to call it, they want you to need them to an unhealthy extent, to a point where you are unable to function without them. That is not healthy. That is not good. Think about it like addiction. Now, when a person becomes addicted to drugs, becomes addicted to alcohol, becomes addicted to anything, they can no longer function without that thing. With the abuser, it is an intentional indoctrination. An intentional addiction is being created inside of their partner, so that when the partner needs to leave, they find it almost impossible to do so. And so we're going to now focus on these things that they do, but more so from the angle of the effect that they have on people. Number 4, isolation. What does isolation look like? Gradually cutting the victim off from friends, family, loved ones, good support systems. Now, I'm careful to say good, because not every family is good. Sometimes your family are your major opposition. They are the major op because they're not good, because they're emotionally maladjusted, because they're toxic themselves. So this is not like a carpet or blanket statement about family in general. Sometimes the best thing for you is to be cut off from your family if they're the ones that cause you the most harm. I did say it. I know people don't like to hear it, especially in Nigeria, where there is a way that we are raised not to question anything that family does. We'll question it if someone else does it, if an outsider does it. But if someone in our family does it, there's a way that we make an excuse for them, and it somehow is not as bad as it would have been if someone else did it. That's one of the reasons why a lot of abuse is entrenched into family systems, and it is generationally passed down, because you dare not say your mother is a narcissist. You dare not say your father is a narcissist, even though they are. You dare not call them out on their bad behavior. Why? Because it means you're being disrespectful, because it means you're being a bad child, because it means you're an ungrateful child. Would you be here if your parents didn't bring you to this world? Things like that. And so abuse is entrenched, deeply ingrained in the fabric of our being. When it comes to family, it's hard to call them out on the very behaviors that we won't accept from outsiders, or that we would villainize outsiders for. So, isolation. When the abuser, if you've got good family, tries to cut you off from your family, cut you off from your friends, cut you off from your support system. The abuser may disguise this by saying that they are protecting you, the victim, or that other people are a negative influence on you. Just try and listen to this one, with both your ears and eyes, and know that there's nuance to it, and discernment has to be applied depending on the context, right? Okay, so the abuser disguises their isolating of you, the victim, as saying your family is bad, your friends are bad, your support system is bad, they're a negative influence on you. You could have had friends that you've had for 10 years, and the abuser comes into your life and they say, be careful with this person. Why? They might not tell you why even. Or they act upset, subtly upset. They sulk when you spend time with your family. I remember there was a time I was on the phone with my sister who doesn't live in the country, and we were talking for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And someone who was interested in me at the time, he got so upset that I was on the phone for hours with my sister and started giving me the silent treatment. And I was like, before this call happened, you and I were great. We were fine. I come off the call and all of a sudden you don't want to talk to me. You're acting like I did something to you. You're acting like... But then the person, he would now talk to other people and he would be fine. But when I was talking to me, he would act like he was mad. It happened a couple of times before I said, I see what it is. I clocked it and I was like, yeah, this person is trying to isolate me from my family without actively saying, I don't want you talking to your sister for 3 hours, because that would make the abuser sound crazy, wouldn't it? Exactly. So these are the ways that isolation happens. It happens subtly. Sometimes it can even be physical. They will physically remove you from your support system, take you to a faraway place, or encourage you to move far away from your family, or encourage you to disconnect yourself from your family in different ways. They can instigate problems between you and your family members, and before you know it, they might not tell you walk away from your family, but because of the problems that they have instituted or instigated, you decide to walk away from your family. You decide your family is not trustworthy. You decide your family is not good, and things like that. So those are some of the ways that isolation can occur. Now, what is the intended effect? The intended effect of isolation is this: to increase the victim's reliance on the abuser and prevent them from seeking outside perspectives or help. I remember I said, the point of abuse is control. There's no other reason for it. Now, if I gain things from you because I've successfully gaslit you enough to hand over your ability to reason and perceive reality to me, I've got the keys to the city, no? Good. Now, if I have the keys to the city that I stole because I manipulated them out of your hands, it means I control who comes through your gates. I own you. If I've got the keys to the city, I own the city. Now, why does the abuser need to isolate you from people? They know what they're doing is bad. This is my submission, that abusive people know when they're abusing others. They might not know why, but they know that they're doing it. They know that they're manipulative. They know that they're condescending. They know that they're cruel. They know that they give you the silent treatment. They know that they're abusing you. The only person who does not know it is you. And their one goal is to make sure that that remains the case. Now, if someone else comes into the picture, do you see how that threatens their carefully arranged world of manipulation, abuse, and control? Because someone who is not under their spell can see, yeah, there's something wrong with this behavior. There's something wrong with, excuse me, just need to adjust. There's something wrong with a mother not letting her child have successful relationships with other people. There's something wrong with a father who rages like a mad man. There's something wrong with siblings who bully their other siblings. There's something wrong with a partner who, before you started dating this guy, you wore things you could wear whatever you wanted to wear. You had a certain style, and then now after dating him, all of a sudden your style is too ratchet, or your style is not good enough. Makes you question that anything you do is good. Before you started dating this person, you were confident. Now all of a sudden you're like this little mouse. It's just like, can I talk? Can I say anything? Should I keep quiet? Okay, I'll keep quiet. I won't say a word. You're right, sweetheart. You're right. People who have not been exposed to the abuser long enough for the abuser to hook and pull them in and put them under the abuser's control as well can see that this is abusive behavior. The abuser doesn't want that. The abuser doesn't want that. Why? Because if someone with another perspective comes and sees, they can tell this person who I benefit from controlling that they're being controlled. And that throws my world in disarray. The abuser, not me, God forbid. It throws the abuser's world in disarray. So the abuser is not going to want you to have as many interactions with many different people so that they and their abuse is not exposed to you. And then you are now able to make an informed decision to walk away or leave them. That is the intended effect. There's a way that emotional abuse is normalized over time. And this is what makes it so dangerous. One of the hardest parts about emotional abuse is how subtle it can be. Your abuser rarely starts with screaming, rage, breaking things, hitting you. They don't start big, well, unless they're love bombing you. They start the abuse little, subtle, small ways. Things that seem harmless at the time. It's like if someone steals 1 naira from you, it means nothing. If they steal 5 naira from you, it doesn't really mean anything. But if they steal 5 naira from you 10 million times, calculate how much money has been taken away. That's how emotional abuse works. If you get cut on your hand here, there's nothing to it. You're just gonna put a band-aid on it, it's fine. But if you get cut here, you get cut all over. Before you can stave the bleeding here, before you can stop the bleeding here, you're bleeding out of here, you're bleeding out of here, and you've bled out. That's pretty graphic. But emotional abuse is very serious and very harmful. That's what it actually does to your mind. Over time, the abuse escalates. It always does. But by that time, it often feels like it's normal because this has happened so long. You now begin to question yourself. Where things were unacceptable before, you start to ask yourself, am I overreacting? Maybe I'm just too sensitive. Is it me that's the problem? Am I the narcissist? What did I do to make him upset? What did I do to make her upset? You start to question if this is just how relationships are supposed to be, and you're asking for too much. If you leave, are you going to meet anybody else? Because maybe this is just what happens in relationships. It's easy to miss the signs when they come wrapped in a package or in gestures that on the surface seem so small, insignificant, and sometimes even innocent. The scary part is that this kind of abuse is so under the radar that it can go on for years and years undetected. But that doesn't mean that the damage it causes is not there. Emotional abuse is not always loud. It's not always obvious. But its damage runs deep, sometimes deeper than we can immediately see, because the wound is invisible, one that is so often hard to see, but even harder to heal. Now, if you have ever felt trapped, manipulated, unfairly treated, used, misused, if you feel like a shadow of yourself, if you feel like I'm different in a negative way, before I came into this relationship, I wasn't like this. If you feel confused, if you feel afraid, if you feel anxious, trust your gut. Trust your feelings. If you have even once, ever once, even in the silence of your own mind, asked yourself, am I being abused? Is this person abusing me? Even if you've asked it just once, please trust your gut. I'm not saying leave, I'm saying investigate. I'm saying interrogate. Interrogate that feeling. Don't just put it away or try to put it under the rug. It's there for a reason. It's telling you something. Please listen. I'm going to end this by saying you deserve so much more than becoming the shadow the abuser has fought you and attacked you from. You deserve so much more. You deserve so much more than diminishing in the very place that is supposed to give you life and help you thrive and blossom and bloom. A relationship is not the place you go to disintegrate and die. It's a place where two living people come together and create a better, more beautiful life for each other. And if that's not what you're experiencing, I beg you, please interrogate at the very least. And if you think you have the strength, leave. Thank you so much for watching Emotional Abuse series here on Bamboozled. It was important to break it down like this so that I don't glom everything into one long episode. I want people to be able to take their time with these. It will take time to absorb all this information, and that's what I want. So stick with me. We're going to get through this series. It's a long one, but it's an important one. If any of these things we've talked about resonates with you in any way, even a little bit, please know that you're not alone. You are not by yourself. You will not believe how many women and men are going through abusive relationships or are in emotionally abusive situations, and they have found help. I know leaving your partner is a scary thing, and I'm not advocating for that. There are people who have actually been able to work through these things with their partner and come out good on the other side. That's possible, but don't just wallow and stay there and keep experiencing this when you can have so much better. There are resources available. If you need help, please reach out to me. All my socials, I'm Annie Icha on all my socials, ANEEICHA. Send me a DM, send me a tweet. I don't know how those things work. Send me an email. The email is in the bio here. And I will hook you up with help and the necessary resources. The more we recognize these patterns, I'm telling you, the more equipped we are to help ourselves, to help the ones we love, and even hopefully to help the people who abuse others. Maybe if they knew better, they would do better. I would ask that if this has been helpful to you, you share it with someone who you think it will be helpful to as well. I'm going to ask you to please subscribe if this content resonates with you. Please share, comment. I'd like to see your experiences in the comment section. It helps other people to know that they're not so alone. And I look forward to reading from you as well. So please share your experiences in the comment section. Share this video with as many people as you can and consider subscribing. I would love that very, very much. All right. You know what time it is? Sign off with me in life. We can always do better or we can do worse. Let's make sure that we find ourselves in the former more than we are in the latter. Stay safe out there in these relationship streets. Don't bamboozle or be bamboozled by bae. I will see you again in the next episode. Until then, please Let love guide you always. Bye for now.